You often talk about time abundance. What exactly do you mean by time abundance?
Well, it's the belief that we truly do have enough time for the things that are important to us. And I think a lot of us do not approach time that way. We have a mindset of scarcity that we don't have enough time to do all these things that we want to do. And yet again, there's often space somewhere. Reading down to the 43rd comment on a article and that the algorithm knows is going to irk you, or even just being unintentional about our time, going into a beautiful weekend and having no idea what we want to do for fun, and so you sort of do nothing for half of Saturday, and it's not a fun nothing. It's kind of like half puttering around the house, half checking your email, half there's often space if we get a good grip on where the time is going. And so I'm always encouraging people to see that. And even just when you have the mindset of time abundance, we start asking far more useful questions. Like, if you believe you have no free time whatsoever, then you don't think about what you want to do with it. Because why would you? I mean, you have no free time whatsoever. So this is a pointless question. And so then when time appears, as it does for all of us, even in little bits of time, you do whatever is easiest, which these days tends to be our electronic hobbies, scrolling around and such. But, if we approach this question from like, okay, I do have time, what would I like to do in my available time, even if it's not as much as I want? Well, then when a spot of time appears, we are much more prepared to seize it. So even if you don't believe that you have abundant time, you're better off believing it, because you're going to make better choices with whatever time you do have.
So can somebody that has a lot of space in their time, that can actually have an empty calendar per se, but still feel rushed at everything they're doing, it do you think that tends to be more of a planning issue, a psychological challenge? Like, where do you think that's, because I know the second point I'll make is in in working in an industry with a lot of people as they age, you make an appointment to do one thing and you're 73, and that one thing for the day has now just completely blown up your day. It might be from 8 to 8:30, but you cannot do anything else. I mean, I talk to my dad sometimes, like, I've got to take the truck in at this time. And I'm like, Dad, what about the rest of the day? I mean, you got to take the truck, but do you feel like that having that empty calendar can sometimes be as much of a challenge as having that full calendar?
Oh, for sure. I mean, and definitely people have kind of new challenges in retirement that come to them and they have to figure out. I would say though, I've learned in talking with many people over the years that some people are able to swiftly transition between different activities in a way that is harder for other people. I don't know. Sometimes I think about it as being like a little tiny like boat, a little skipper that can go this way and this way, or somebody's a big oil tanker. And once the oil tanker is gone somewhere, they cannot turn around. Like, there is no turning. There is no doing
Right.
anything else once the oil tanker has gone to its destination. And now the problem is, of course, it's very hard to live your life if you are the oil tanker, because it doesn't work that way. And people have had to learn to become more of a skipper. I mean, I have 5 kids. Like, there's no way I could be an oil tanker doing one thing a day. Like, it just doesn't work. Even if my kids only had one thing they were doing, like, that's still 5 different things. So you have to learn to be a little bit more nimble and flexible with time. And I think some of that is a mindset of being a little bit more good enough is good enough, a little bit more straightforward. These are the things that have to happen before the next things happens. I just go through them and move on. Um, but so people have different personalities, and I hesitate to say that one is better than the other, but I think you do need to have to figure out what is more useful for life. And sometimes we can learn to do things that are useful, even if it's not natural. I am, for instance, a very strong introvert, but that doesn't work in like social situations in my life. And so have learned to, make pleasant small talk with people, whether I want to or not.
I get it. Yeah, my wife and I go through this all the time because I'm the extrovert, and there's never been an opportunity, a concert, dinner, friends that I have not wanted to go do and hang out with. Or tonight we're going to a concert, and we're not going to the concert. We're going to dinner with friends, and then she and one of her friends are dipping out, and me and the husband are going to the concert because that's where she's given away. Jim Quick says introverts have five chips, and she will have given away all 5 of her chips by that time, and I will just be building towards the next one. So, um,
People are different, but we have to work with what we have, but I think we also have the ability to learn new skills, all of us in different situations that might be helpful.
yeah, and I think to your point, we all have to find what it is that really makes us feel fulfilled. And some of us have a full calendar makes you feel more fulfilled and experiential in the day, and you're maxing it out in some capacity that feels like you're fully living, whereas others may have dead space that just makes them feel alive because they're able to recharge. And I feel like the older I get, the more I need both, but I need them in spurts. I've always been a sprinter. So, like, what I've learned is I need to sprint and rest. And I feel like that works way better for me. But I think that's the beauty of us aging. Once I got over 40, I started to feel, a different level of comfort with just being alone and developing and building that comfort.
Yeah. Well, new skills and self-knowledge in any capacity is always helpful. I mean, it looks at how you prefer to spend your time, where your energy is during the day, like different times of day that you might have more energy than others. Knowing what sorts of work you find energizing or what sorts of work you find not energizing, and then planning out your day appropriately so that you have the energy to do all the things you need to do. I mean, this is all self-knowledge and part of the great project of observing ourselves over and over again. I'm a big fan of doing that. I like to observe time, like I track how I spend my time, but there's lots of different dimensions that you can get to know yourself.
So when we talk about time abundance, let's just talk about time scarcity for a second. Does time scarcity sometimes um, is that something that we have to actively pay attention to? Because I feel like it's easy to say that we have all this time in the day. Like I know that at the end of the day, we all have a little bit of extra time, but I'm always exhausted. So what I choose to do with that time, yesterday I traveled from California to DC, then DC home, and I said to myself, my whoop said I was in the green. I was like ready to go. I'm going to work out this afternoon. My wife and I both went into the garage. We end up sitting down in the garage having a conversation. I looked at her. I was like, I have no energy to work out. And she laughed and she goes, I don't either. So I did the sauna and the cold plunge, which felt like a workout and I felt successful. But I think that I had time abundance and I chose to do something different with it, but I still felt good about it. I had that grace. What do you
Yeah.
find when people have that challenge? What has research shown you and through your studying?
Well, energy is a different matter than time. I mean, one of the things that people are often amazed to see when they do track their time is that there is space that they can repurpose or that they have no idea what they're even doing with. But often this comes at low energy times. And so it takes some effort to figure out, well, how am I going to use this? And this is why our phones are so attractive. Like our phones don't require a ton of energy and you can do it for 10 seconds or 10 hours. Like it doesn't matter. Right. And so that makes it very easy to fill all crevices of time in that bit of time you haven't thought about. And so I challenge people to kind of map out their days, know their schedule, know their energy, and think about what you might choose to do during lower energy times that would still be enjoyable for you. So in your case, obviously, low energy, the sauna or the cold plunge. I got to say, the cold plunge sounds ridiculous to me, and I
Yeah,
would never
she
do it.
she
But
doesn't
to
like
each
it
her
either, but it's okay.
to each their own. So but that sounds appealing to you. And so that is something you can do in a low energy time. And I think it would help everyone to think about, well, what are those things you're going to do in your low energy time? Maybe it's that you really like to read a magazine. Like a book is hard if you have zero energy, but a magazine you could get your head around. Or, maybe it's that you can't run, like you don't feel like you could get started running, you have no energy for that or for lifting heavy, but you could go for a pleasant walk around the block. Maybe the dog needs to be brought out anyway, so you just bring the dog on a little walk around the block, and that's something that you can do in a lower energy time. So understand what you can do to still feel like you are satisfied moving forward to your goals, even if you are not at your absolute best self. There are times of day when we are at our absolute best self, and you want to make sure that you choose the appropriate activities for those times. But there are many times when we are not, but we're still experiencing time, and time is still there. And I don't want us to write off hours just because, we're a little bit tired. I mean, it's life. Probably always be somewhat tired.
Yeah, I think, especially, when you're at a busy season of life, there are seasons of life, and when you have 5 kids in the house, you're in a busy season of life. And my son's one's just left. He's a Division 1 college soccer player, so he just left to go to captain's practice yesterday, and so he's out of the house now for the year. And then my youngest son lives at a soccer academy, and so my wife and I found ourselves having an abundance of time, but we filled it in a pretty significant way, and we were able to adjust in ways. But you also have different things now, because now when you're going to see games, it's not going up the street to see the game; it's 5 hour drive or 3 4 hour drive, and so it really does change. But we go through those different seasons where our energy is at different parts. I wonder how many people listen to Huberman and all these different podcasts, and they try to maximize their mornings, and they follow someone else's morning routine. And the reality is, maybe they're not their best time of day is not in the morning, and they wonder why they struggle. Like, I think self-awareness comes into this a little bit, and just really understanding what works best for you, I would imagine.
Absolutely. I mean, there are, again, things that are practical. And sometimes we could learn to do things if they are useful for our lives, even if they are not our natural tendencies. The reason that early mornings is good for many people is that if you have a full-time job and you have a family, the time that is available for you to do anything that requires some sort of energy tends to be early in the morning. Because, like, a 5 p.m. workout can easily get derailed by a client who calls you at 4:45 asking for something, right? Like, you're like, well, I'm not going to hang up precisely at 4:59 if this is my biggest client just because I have an appointment at the gym. So that can get derailed, or you've, like, your kids have something you need to go deal with. Like, you're not going to leave again once you're there and dealing with all the kids stuff. And, I guess maybe if you got little kids and they go to bed at like 8 p.m., you could do something afterwards. But by that time, people are tired. And so it's really practical to use the early morning hours for things like a workout, creative pursuits, all of those things that people do as part of their morning routine. But there's nothing inherently more moral about using your mornings versus any other time of day. And so for me personally, I've always been like, well, why am I not waking up at 5:30 in the morning to go run 10 miles and do my green juice and whatever else? And well, it's because for many years I had kids who didn't sleep well, so I had no interest in waking up at 5:30 in the morning to do all those things. And the other part is that, I work for myself. I run my own business. If I want to go for a run at 2 p.m. when I have a energy dip and I'm looking for something to boost my energy, I usually could do it then, right? And so
Right.
it's not that I didn't have to wake up at 5:30 a.m. in order to run. And so I didn't have to. And then people are like, oh, well, what about creative pursuits? Well, again, that's my job. I like my business is cranking out content, doing creative work. So I don't have to get up early to do it. So I don't. And I think you have to sort of recognize that if there is a time, like, if you can work out, 4 times during the week, and it doesn't have to be at 6 a.m. for you, then that's great. It doesn't have to be at 6 a.m. for you. If you have a personal goal you are trying to meet, like you are, you know, trying to write a novel, but for you, it actually works really well to go sit in a coffee shop 2 evenings a week and maybe have a stint on, early Sunday morning or something. Like, that's great. Do that. You don't have to wake up at 4:30 a.m. every day just to do it. So I think, it's understand the practicalities of the morning routine, but then figure out, do you need those practicalities, or are you a person who can achieve their goals at different times of day? And then that's great.
So YouTube has this cool feature where they pick the next video for you, and it's right here on this screen. So I hope you enjoy this next video.